Are you confused when it comes down to nutrition? How about all these conflicting testimonies we hear from people with diametrically the opposite diets? How can we make any sense out of this? I've said many times, to heed the words of Aristotle, believe only your own experience. There is no fact like a fact learned from your own life. The problem with that, however, is that society attacked early when we were helpless, and now we have a malfunctioning feedback system. Yes, if you've ever heard my videos before, I've talked about both these topics before. I've explained that there is a lot of reasons why we have so much confusion around a subject that we should know very simplistically. No one should have to tell you what to eat. Your anatomy tells you what to eat. And it's really quite amazing how people can look at our anatomy and somehow click off the boxes, and somehow we think we belong in one class where we don't have the anatomy to do so. The only thing that could even make it possible is the fact that we've got this brilliant brain of ours that seems to get us in trouble, doesn't it? In fact, I know it has. As a philosopher, I've identified 11 main events that have drastically changed the fate of mankind. It all started with the very first event, where our brains nearly doubled in size, going from around 400 cc's to around 800 cc's. And then that allowed us to do things we'd never done before, that no other animal can do. And then I've identified 5 main things that we've mastered and applied to the things we need, especially our food. And that makes our food unnatural. So the reason why we suffer as a species is very simple. We're eating unnatural foods, and then we have 5 bad eating habits associated with eating unnatural food. So there are 10 main mistakes we're making that can add to all the confusion around something so simple that we should understand what to eat, because our anatomy tells us what to eat. And we can correct any one of these 10 mistakes and see an improvement in our results. Not have certain warning signs going off. That's what a disease is. An illness and ill behavior is part of our feedback system, letting us know how well we're satisfying our needs. We've got 2 groups of needs, and that's also what makes this complicated. If you don't understand that we have 2 groups of needs, then nutrition is always going to be confusing for you, because one diet does not fit all is a half-truth. One diet does fit relative to one group of needs. We have a species-specific diet that clearly tells us, based on our anatomy, what we're good at procuring and processing. And of course, it can get complicated because it's got this brilliant brain that now has an opposing thumb, and now we can create tools and kill things that we don't really have the equipment to kill. It would not have been able to do had it not been for that first main event that happened around 2 million years ago, 2/3 into our existence. Our brains doubled in size. Then we mastered 5 things and made 5 bad applications. Those are the 11 main events. And then we've got 2 groups of needs. We're living systems. We're subject to the law of cause and effect. It's like all matter is subject to Newton's 3rd law of motion, the law of action and reaction, cause and effect. We reap what we sow, folks. We have 12 essential needs based on the fact that we are living systems and we need an environment to sustain us. But then there's a ripple effect, and that's where this gets complicated, because now we have another group of needs. So we have 2 groups of needs, and we also have 2 groups of mistakes. The first group of mistakes have to do with not satisfying our needs. Taking those 5 things we mastered and applied it to our food, it made the food unnatural. Allowed us to consume things we would never ever consider consuming had it not been for that very first bad application we made. 5 bad applications. The first one is what really messed everything up for us. And that's what allowed us to continue to make these other mistakes, where all of them have to do with the fact that it's unnatural now. And now we got these 5 bad eating habits. We eat too frequently. So let's correct the 6th mistake and keep doing what you've been doing. Let's just eat within a window, incorporate intermittent fasting, and voila, look at the improvement we see in our outcomes. How about going and jump to the 10th mistake? That's where we have bad food combinations, where we eat proteins and starches. So, how can 2 diets be seeing such good results when they're diametrically the opposite? You got the vegans and the vegetarians and the carnivores and the paleo people seeing results. Why? Because one's omitting the other. 10th mistake, bad food combinations. One of the worst combinations we make all the time is a protein and a starch. All of our sandwiches got a bread and the protein. It's a dead animal. Why are we calling it a protein? Oh, where are you getting your protein? Where are you getting that dead animal? As if we need a dead animal for our existence. We don't have the anatomy to process that food. We don't have the anatomy to procure it. The only thing is that we have this brilliant brain and we can create weapons that will kill everything on this planet. Yippee, we can eat everything. We can kill it, we can eat it. That's how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to be the guardians on this planet, protecting everything, being a good example for other animals to behave like us. So, no one is telling you what to eat, folks. Your anatomy tells you what to eat, but you have 2 groups of needs. We're living systems. We have these 12 essential needs: air, water, food, sunshine, exercise, and sleep. But that food is the biggest mistake we're making, because now it's unnatural, and we are what we eat. And then we've got another group of needs. That's a ripple effect. And we also have another group of mistakes. And that's also the ripple effect. Again, we eat too frequently. We eat too much. We eat when we're under stress. We drink liquids with our meals. We have all types of bad food combinations. Mainly because we're eating foods we should never eat. So 5 main mistakes based on 5 things we mastered. The last one was the chemical revolution. Shouldn't grow our food on artificial fertilizers and spraying with pesticides. When you eat organic food, you get 5 times the biophotons than you do if you eat conventional produce. Biophotons are the only nutrient we need to look at when we look at our food. How do you know what to eat? It's so confusing. People can go carnivore or vegetarian and they're not combining the bad food combinations and they're seeing good results. A lot of them incorporate intermittent fasting, so they're seeing good results. How do you know what to believe? The only thing we should think about is, does it have biophotons? Oh my God, let's not make that last mistake. The most recent one in the 1940s, the chemical revolution. All of our food should be organic. There should be no pesticides and chemicals involved in this process. Going backwards, the 4th mistake comes from the 4th thing we mastered, the machines, the Industrial Revolution. It's our process and our foods. Folks, our diets are so sick right now, especially here in America, that a mistake can be a solution. The starch solution can be a solution, because I'm not making these other mistakes. A carnivore diet or a paleo diet can be a solution. You look at the paleo diet, okay, we're not going to make the last 3 mistakes. The 3rd mistake is the agricultural revolution. Yes, we're eating plants we're not designed to eat. Some have adapted better to eat it, and they might not be gluten intolerant, but not having a warning sign going off because our ancestors have been eating it for a long time doesn't make us impervious to eating food that's not designed for us to eat. So there's another blue herring. What a distraction. So, when you go to a paleo diet, we're not making those last 3 mistakes. Yes, there are plants we are not designed to eat. They have nutrients in it that says, don't eat me, humans. Anti-nutrients. And then, if we alter the food, we can alter that anti-nutrient and still eat it, or are then able to eat it without the negative effects of the anti-nutrient. Now, there's a lot of things that are also in plants that are hard when we make the 1st mistake, which I'll get to in a second. I'm going to come back to this. The 2nd mistake we made, we started eating animals we are not designed to eat. We do not have the anatomy to process animal products. We don't have any of the anatomy except a brain that's clever enough to make tools that can then just kill something. So we don't need the claws. There are other animals that are classified as carnivores that don't have to have claws to eat things. And you look at a whale, they have a filtering system. But when you look at our anatomy clearly tells us we are not in the carnivore class or omnivore class or herbivore class or the granivore class. We're in the primate class with mostly fruitarians, mostly what we should eat. And now when we look at arguments given by people from the carnivore camp, they say, well, look at the primates, a lot of those are omnivores. Behaviorally, they're omnivores, but they're not biologically. If you look at the research from Jane Goodall, the first 10 years of her examining and living with these primates, she said there was none of that behavior at all until as society encroached on them and all the other animals were jumped together, then they had to make an example of the other animals. I heard some director or some person being interviewed by Joe Rogan the other day talking about how they don't even want to film what their behavior is like now. But again, you have to consider that's not normal behavior. When a primate eats another animal, when they hunt another animal, it's not like how all the other animals hunt. They're making a big ruckus out of it to make sure all the other animals know, you better not come over here and eat our fruit. If they're crowding us in, we got to protect our fruit. We're going to make an example out of you. We're going to go crazy and tear that guy apart. So behaviorally, they might appear to be omnivores, but biologically, we're not designed. We don't have the anatomy to process it. And the most important anatomical characteristic we have is the length of our intestines. You look at all the animals that are designed to eat other animals, their intestines are short, about 3 times the length of their torso. And then you look at all the other animals that are in the other group, the plant eaters. All their intestines are about 10 times the length of our torso. And that's what humans are. So that's the only anatomical characteristic we have to consider when we should think about, well, what should we eat? Well, then when you even go back into all the enzymes and the acids and everything, it clearly indicates that we are in the plant section, the group that are designed to eat plants, not designed to eat animals. So yes, there's a lot of confusion. Who can you trust? Well, we have a malfunctioning feedback system, folks. Society attacked early when we were helpless. We were brought up eating unnatural foods and we didn't know any better. As soon as we get sick, we take them to our so-called experts, and this profession has been used by the sickest of us to control the masses for millennium. This goes way back 3,000 years ago at least. And according to Eustace Mullins in his book, The Curse of Canaan, where after 40 years of studying how we're being ruled by the money system and looking at all the players and everything you've ever read about this story is usually coming from some work that came from originally from Eustace Mullins. But Eustace Mullins pointed out that, look at this, all conspiracies are satanic, meaning that the people that are controlling everything worship Satan. They're not Christians or Jews or Muslims, they're Satanists. And according to Eustace Mullins, they usurped the priesthood and the educational system 3,000 years ago. Now, why do you think they did that? Well, let's go back 2,400 years ago and look at Plato. Those who tell the stories rule society. This and no other is the root from which a tyrant springs. When he first appears, he is a protector. Nothing's changed in the millennium. The same thing that happened long ago is happening right now. Our brains have been bombarded with so much bullshit. We have way too many references that support beliefs they want us to believe in so that they can then use fear to control us. And look what's happened recently. It worked. Because we're very superstitious. We believe in things we don't understand, but we have so many references that have been implanted in our brains ever since we're children. That's our problem, folks. We have all this implanted I had a term for this just the other day and it escapes me right now. References, for the lack of the word I'm looking for, beliefs, superstitions, that make us think and believe the way we do. It's really quite simple, folks. When you can control what people know, you can control what people do. Those who tell the stories rule society. Make you think that the very first mistake that we made is an art instead of a sin. Remember, folks, 10 main mistakes, 2 groups of needs, 2 groups of mistakes. Chemicals, machines, plants, animals, fire. We're cooking our food, folks. That's the biggest mistake we've ever made. Because as soon as you cook something, whether it's a plant or an animal or a fungi, these things have eukaryotic cells, they're able to store the sunlight energy in the nucleus of their cells, and the cells emit that sunlight energy as a form of communication to everything around us, around it. It's our spidey sense, or our sixth sense. These are the biophotons we're supposed to have. And according to Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, who coined this word way back in 1976, invented an instrument in 74, was monitoring these, and he goes, look what I found. All these plants, animals, and fungi are emitting light, and the more they have, the healthier they are. Humans were born at 43,000. If you continue to eat those biophotons, you'll be at 83,000. If you don't, you'll be around 1,000 to 23,000. So this is where most humans are at, folks. We're way down on at the very low end of the spectrum. Our spidey sense is way too low. This is why we struggle. It's not any more complicated than that. The root to just about every one of our problems comes when we alter our food and eat unnatural food. It begins by cooking the food. We're no longer eating biophotons. We no longer have 6 strong senses. We have 5 and a fraction. We don't feel one with everyone and everything around us. And now we're able to eat things we'd never ever consider eating. It's disgusting to think about chasing down an animal and eating it, tearing it apart and relishing in the blood. It's pathetic that we would think we'd ever do that. And yet if you weren't cooking your food, you wouldn't do it. If you had to kill the animal you ate before you did it, you wouldn't do it. But society attacked early when we're helpless. We eat these unnatural foods, we get sick, we take them to these doctors who are controlled and manipulated. They don't know why we get sick. Or you got colic. What is colic? That's an adult cold. What is a cold? It's a body-initiated form of detoxification because we're eating unnatural food and our waste matter is not getting exposed out or expelled out of our body. What we don't eliminate accumulates, and that's what a disease symptom is. It's not even very complicated when you think about this concept of auto-intoxication. When you understand the terrain is everything. And when you change the terrain, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's why I always encourage everyone on my YouTube channel to take a solid food vacation. Drink nothing but fresh juices. Change your terrain, change your bathrooms, watch your symptoms go away. And then you'll realize, wait a second, maybe I need to reevaluate these other mistakes. Should I cook my food? Should I be eating animals? Should I be eating things that I couldn't eat unless I cooked it? Again, there are anti-nutrients in a lot of plants that say, don't eat me. But if we cook the food, we can kill the food, kill the anti-nutrients, and then eat it without having the negative effects of the anti-nutrients. But then there are other things inside the plants that now become harmful if we cook them, like oxalic acid. And you hear the carnivore people saying, don't eat the plants, they're going to try to kill you. You're going to get kidney stones from it. If you cook it, quit cooking the food, and you won't be eating damaged oxalic acid, and you won't be eating plants you're not designed to eat, and you would be a fool to think about eating a raw, dead animal that's putrefying. If you don't eat it right away, how long has it been putrefying? And if we weren't doing those, we wouldn't be dumb enough to be processing our foods to a point where our diet is so horrible, you can correct any of these mistakes and think you got a solution. Oh, I got a starch solution. I won't eat the animal products and look at the improvement in my life. Oh, I'll go to the paleo or the carnivore diet, look at the improvements in my life. A mistake is not a solution. We're making 5 mistakes. The starch diet is not a starch solution. The carnivore diet is not a carnivore solution. These are mistakes. The only reason why a mistake can be a solution is because you're not making all of the other mistakes. Quit making all those mistakes, you stupid fools. I can't do it. I love my food. Exactly. That's why you got to test an idea as time has come. You got to take a break from the one thing that's controlling all of us. That's what Tolstoy understood when he translated that great book, Nothing to Die by Howard Williams, into Russian, and created a 25-page essay called The First Step, where he knew the first step to solve our problems had to do with taking back control over the one thing controlling us. We're a bunch of gluttons, and that's what Tolstoy pointed out. He said humanity's like on a two-story house. The bottom floor is the evil life. We're addicted to the evil life. We're a bunch of gluttons. That's all we think about is food and food and food and food and yummy, 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 yummy. After about adolescence, it dominates our life. Everything we do is around food. And he said the good life is the second story way up here, and there's stairs to get up there. But the stairs are sequential. You can't skip them. And we're skipping steps all the time. A lot of Christians will focus on the higher virtues, the higher steps. Look at me. I'm so giving and loving. And look how much I help people. But I still struggle with my own personal demons or whatever. And why? Because you haven't addressed the very first step. And that's self-control. Christians call it self-renunciation. Tolstoy wanted to be better known for his ideas on ethics than he did on his other works, like War and Peace and Anna Karenina, because he understood the problem with religion, that the church has twisted the real story that we're supposed to hear about how really important our diet is. And when we kill our food, we'll kill the animal, we'll kill ourselves. It's everything self-inflicted. We are the enemy, but yet we're the heroes. Once we test an idea as time has come and change our terrain and see for ourselves. That society attacked early. I got sick by eating unnatural food, but we went to the doctor and they didn't know. They thought it was like an infection. They gave us bacteria or antibiotics. And I just kept eating the wrong food. I built a tolerance to it. This is the problem we have in our society. We built up a tolerance to the mistakes we've been exposed to starting at a very early age. It's a lot like smoking a cigarette. First one you puff on, boy, you cough your head off. But if you're determined, you can keep smoking them, and next thing you know, pack a day, 2 packs a day, not a problem. You don't cough at all, hardly. So a couple decades later, and I'm coughing up blood. This is what happens when you eat unnatural food. We develop a malfunctioning feedback system, where we're deriving pleasure from things that should tell us right off the bat it's wrong. So what's the solution? Take the first step, according to Tolstoy, solid food vacation on water. For Tolstoy, for me, it's on juices. Let's modernize this approach. That way we can deal with the other side of the equation. It's not just toxicity, there are deficiencies. When you take a solid food vacation on juices, you're addressing both of those. Keep it in mind, we have 2 groups of needs. Cause and effect, 12 essential needs, ripple effect, 2 additional temporary needs. One of them has to do with subsequent causes that don't go away just because we remove the primary causes. So now we have to support our body in case it's damaged. 2 groups of needs, folks, 12 essential needs, 2 additional temporary needs. One of those are 10 subsequent needs because we're sick, disconnected, and out of control. And then the other are those subsequent causes that don't go away just because we remove the primary causes. And a classic example of what I'm trying to illustrate now, this ripple effect, they also call the causal loop. The classic example in medicine is where you will hear people say that diabetes is the #1 cause of blindness in America, or diabetes is the #1 cause for gangrene and limb amputations in America. #1 cause, diabetes. Well, diabetes was an effect before it became a cause. So cause and effect, the effect can become a cause. In the causal loop, that's the ripple effect. That's why there's 2 groups of needs. One group of needs for living systems, we have an environment, we need to have it to sustain us, we have to interact with our environment. The quality of those interactions depends on the quality of us, or will be reflecting the quality of us. But then if we make mistakes and we're damaged, now we've got another group of needs. We might be diabetic now, and we have to treat that symptom or manage that symptom until we remove the cause of the diabetes. Well, what's the cause of diabetes? According to the people who are saying diabetes is the cause of blindness, they don't know. In fact, 75% of the time they admit they don't know, and then they conflate correlation with causation for the other 25%. We know correlation does not equal causation. And then they're the number one cause of death in America. I wonder if we should question whether or not we should keep using their approach. Because their approach assumes the body can't heal itself. Let's try a more realistic approach. Hey, the body can heal itself. I've seen it happen. I've cut myself. I've broken bones. I've seen how it mends. And when we do something as profound as Tolstoy recommended, a solid food vacation on water, the transformation the body goes through under autolysis is nothing short of miraculous. The same physiology that goes on when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. Think of that transformation. When we let nature heal ourselves, how arrogant can man be to think that a solution to a lifestyle problem is to poison the body somehow, to trick it so that the symptom disappears. It's not the solution, folks. So sure, making 10 main mistakes, we can correct any one of them and see improvement. What I recommend is let's correct all 5 of these mistakes on a temporary basis so we can see what we're missing. And then once we bump up these biophotons and then flush out what Victor Hugo referred to as the serpent in man, because when we eat unnatural food, not everything's going in, it's going out. So a solid food vacation, the average man I coach in America loses 30 pounds in 30 days, and about 22 pounds of that's going to be waste matter. The average woman loses about 20 pounds in 30 days. And about 12 pounds of waste matter is going to come out of them. So both lose about 8 pounds of fat, maybe. Water percentage will go up. Oh, it's just water loss. No, it's not. I've coached thousands of people I know. Personally, I've done this close to 1,800 days, if not over 1,800 days in the last 30-some years. I know from both personal and professional experience what Tolstoy understood, the first step to make any sense out of this. If you're confused, if you want to figure out the truth about nutrition, correct these 5 mistakes on a temporary basis so you can see what you're missing. Get rid of that serpent that's inside you. I had a 20-pound serpent in me when I was 40. Only had 5.8% body fat, 9 pounds of fat. I go 3 months, 90 days on nothing but juices. I documented 45 pounds of waste matter that came out of me because it was all hard and dried and like sludge, axle grease inside me. In order to get out of it, I had to rehydrate it. Then I'll lose 20 pounds on the scale. It's amazing just how filthy we are as a species. And it's what Hippocrates meant when he said diseases are crises of purification, of toxic elimination. We're full of horrible things that we should have gotten rid of long ago. And if we don't eliminate it, they accumulate. That's what causes our problems. It's not complicated. 5 main mistakes: eating unnatural foods, we're eating too frequently, we're eating too much. We are eating when we're stressed. Folks, when you're stressed, your rest and digest system is shut down, so the worst thing you can do when you are stressed is to eat, and that's what most of us do. And we shouldn't drink liquids or their meals. All sorts of bad food combinations when we're eating unnatural food. The simple solution is don't eat unnatural foods. Food combining rules don't apply as much when you're eating natural foods. Foods we're designed to eat: the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts and seeds. We're not designed to eat the cellulose that's in cauliflower and broccoli. There are certain plants that will give us trouble if we try to eat those in their raw, natural state, as all other animals are designed to eat all their food. We can juice them, we can sprout certain things, and that will change things. But it's best to stick with the basics, folks. Look at your anatomy. Your anatomy tells you what to eat. We got 2 groups of needs based on 2 groups of anatomical limitations. We're born with a species-specific diet. We have to acknowledge this limitation. But then if we damage ourselves, if we're eating a bunch of foods we're not designed to eat that have level 2 nutrients in it, then we might become dependent upon those level 2 nutrients. So this is why it can get complicated. This is why our species-specific diet might not work for everyone. It's working okay for me, but it doesn't work for everyone because we don't live in an ideal world anymore. We can become damaged. We might become dependent upon certain level 2 nutrients. We might not be living in a place where I'm able to get out like today and bump up on my vitamin D levels. If you're living real far up north, you're not going to have this access or far south. So we might be living in an area that creates another group of needs. We might have become dependent based on our diet history for the last half a dozen decades or so. And we might be part of an ancestral group for millennium have been getting a direct source of DHA, so now we've got to get a direct source of DHA, as what's happened to people from Norway that's been eating all that fish for so many millennium. So yes, it is confusing. Does one diet fit all? No, it fits one group of needs, and if you're not damaged, it'll work. But most of us are damaged, we got another group of needs. Got to think of our body as a chariot being pulled by dozens of horses, okay? Got 12 essential needs, you got 12 body systems. Evaluate all your body systems and make sure they're all strong. How about your sleep horse? Are you getting enough sleep? We heal when we sleep, folks. Diet's not a panacea. But when you look at all the mistakes we're making, the biggest ones that we're making that puts everything in motion is the wrong food. It changes our behavior. It creates a dark side to our behavior. We prey upon ourselves. When you realize the role that food plays, and that if we were to correct this one mistake, we wouldn't have these other 10 subsequent needs from being sick, disconnected, and out of control, 6 of which can be used against us. And among those 6, we've got the media and the government. These are being used against us, folks. How do we defeat this aspect of ourselves? It's not going to be a top-down solution. It's got to be a bottom-up. We all play a role. We've got to get reconnected. Remember, that's the problem with humanity. Mob's out of control, and it controls the world. And the powers that be control what the mob thinks. It uses fear to hurt us like a bunch of animals. The herd's got to change, folks. We got to find that knowledge we're missing. We got to find out the role that food plays and the role that each one of us plays in order to defeat the top of the pyramid. If you look at this as a pyramid power, we got the elites at the very top, a very small group of people that worship Satan, that are controlling what everyone learns, and then they got that little class beneath them, the proletarian class, the thugs that are enforcing everything, and then we got the masses at the base of the pyramid. Only one way to change this power structure. It starts at the base, at the bottom. Depends on you. You are the solution. And if you're not, then you're actually part of the problem. You got to play your role and be the best that you can be. Bump up your biophotons, flush out that serpent, do the best you can at correcting these 5 main mistakes. Continue on the hero's journey, which is what this is all about. Share this message with everyone you know. There are people all around you that are suffering, most of which unfortunately don't have the ears to hear. But don't let that keep you from trying to find one that does, because when you can find someone that has the ears to hear and they're in pain, you can help them get rid of the pain and suffering. Ow! Well, you guys are in for a treat.